You know that feeling, right? When you're facing a decision that's so tough, you just freeze. A moment where the right thing to do is anything but clear, and you can just feel the weight of what happens next. Well, if you've been there, you've been at the very heart of ethics. Today, we're not just going to study a topic, we're grabbing a compass to help us navigate those moments. We're going to explore how we build a bridge from the world as it is to the world as it ought to be. I mean, really think about it for a second. Maybe it was deciding whether to tell a friend a hard truth, knowing it would hurt them. Or maybe you saw something that was just plain wrong and you had to choose, stay quiet or speak up and deal with the fallout. That knot in your stomach, that question that keeps you up at night, am I doing the right thing? That's the engine that drives this entire conversation. And that question pops up because of this fundamental tension. For instance, imagine you see a wallet stuffed with cash just lying on the sidewalk. The is simple. A wallet is on the ground. That's a fact. But the ought is that powerful voice in your head, that feeling that you should find its owner. Ethics, really, is just the lifelong project of trying to figure out that ought in every situation we face. So yeah, think of ethics as that bridge. It's a structure we're always trying to build, using reason, using empathy, using principles. It's the bridge that helps us get from the messy reality of where we are to the ideal of who we really want to be. It's not about finding one single perfect answer. It's about learning how to build a stronger, more reliable bridge every single day. So you ready to start building? Here's our game plan. We'll start with that call to adventure, that gap between is and ought. Then we'll gather our tools, the three main branches of ethics. With those in hand, we'll navigate the wild landscape of the great ethical debates. And finally, we'll see why this journey is one that never, ever really ends. Okay, so let's step right into that gap. This is where it all begins. It's that space between the cold, hard facts of the world and the values we hold dear. And it's right here that we start asking the biggest questions of all, about what it means to live a good life. Now, to navigate this territory, you're gonna need a toolkit. And philosophy gives us a pretty powerful one, split into three main parts. We've got meta-ethics, which asks the really big foundational questions. Then there's normative ethics, which gives us the actual frameworks. And finally, applied ethics, which is all about getting our hands dirty with real-world problems. Let's make this super practical. Okay, say you're thinking about going vegetarian. Meta-ethics would ask, hold on, what do we even mean when we say eating meat is wrong? Is that a universal fact, or is it just your opinion? Then normative ethics chimes in with a framework, something like the right action is the one that reduces the most suffering. And finally, applied ethics takes that rule and dives into the nitty-gritty of factory farming and animal welfare. See how they all work together? So meta-ethics is like the 30,000-foot view. You and a friend are arguing about telling a little white lie. Meta-ethics doesn't care who's right. It steps back and asks, wait a minute, when you say something is wrong, are you stating a fact, like the sky is blue, or are you just expressing a feeling, like I don't like broccoli? It's all about the very meaning of our moral language. Now, normative ethics, this is where it gets personal. Think about your own internal moral compass, the rules you try to live by. You know, be honest, be kind, don't be a jerk. That's your own personal normative ethics. This branch is all about trying to organize those instincts into solid, coherent systems that can actually help us make tough calls. And this is where we see a major philosophical showdown. On one side, you have deontology. This view says that certain actions are just right or wrong, period. Lying is wrong, full stop. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. On the other side, you have teleology, which is all about the consequences. It says the right action is the one that leads to the best possible result, like the most happiness for the most people. This is the classic trolley problem, right? A pure deontologist might not pull a lever to save 5 people if it means actively killing one, because the act itself is wrong. But a teleologist would pull that lever in a heartbeat, because the consequence, saving 4 extra lives, is the better outcome. And all of this high-level theory comes crashing down to earth in applied ethics. This is where the rubber really meets the road. I mean, we're talking about huge present-day issues, like the ethics of AI. Should a self-driving car be programmed to save its passenger or a group of pedestrians? Should we build autonomous weapons? These are not abstract questions anymore. They're urgent challenges that we have to figure out. And applied ethics is the tool for the job. All right, so we've got our toolkit. Now it's time to actually explore the landscape. And let me tell you, it's a wild one, defined by these huge, ongoing debates that philosophers have been arguing about for literally centuries. So here's a big one. Just a couple hundred years ago, in many parts of the world, slavery was considered morally okay. Today, most of us see it as one of the greatest moral evils imaginable. So, what happened? Did our morality get better? Did it evolve? Or was slavery always objectively wrong, and entire societies were just morally blind? This philosopher, Herbert Spencer, had a really helpful way to think about this. He talked about an absolute ethic, like a perfect, flawless moral code for a perfect society that doesn't exist yet. And then there's a relative ethic, which is basically the best we can do right now in our messy, imperfect world. It's kind of like with climate change, right? The absolute ideal might be to have zero emissions tomorrow. But the relative ethic is about the compromises and steps we take today to get closer to that ideal, knowing we can't just flip a switch. Okay, let's get personal again. Where does your sense of right and wrong actually come from? No, really, think about it. Is it from your parents, your religion, your friends, from things you've gone through? This question is a puzzle that has stumped thinkers forever, probably because the answer isn't simple at all. Well, one popular theory is that we just know. It's a gut feeling, an intuition. You don't need to read a philosophy book to feel that causing needless pain is wrong. You just feel it in your bones. That's moral intuitionism. But here's the massive catch. What happens when my gut tells me one thing and your gut tells you the complete opposite? Our intuitions can be shaped by all sorts of biases and blind spots. So while your gut is a great starting point, it can't be the final authority. And that leads us to this huge practical headache. So let's say you believe in the golden rule. Great rule. But what happens when you're in a situation where you can only help one of two people who are both in desperate need? How do you apply the rule then? These big, beautiful, abstract principles, they often get really fuzzy when you try to use them in the chaotic, messy reality of our lives. And this is why this quote from Immanuel Kant just hits so hard. This is a guy who was all about absolute universal rules. And yet, even he admitted that a rule is totally useless if you don't understand people. It's such a crucial reminder that ethics isn't just a logic puzzle. It's about human beings and all our complicated, messy glory. So we've been deep in the weeds. Let's pull back and look at the big picture. Let's ask what all this philosophy actually means for us, just as people trying to get through the day and maybe, just maybe, be a little bit better. I'm definitely not the same person I was 10 years ago. Thank goodness. I've learned things, I've messed up, I've grown. I'm guessing you feel the same way. This fantastic idea of the person in process just nails it. We aren't finished statues, perfect and unchanging. We're all works in progress. We are all a process of becoming. So how do you actually use ethics as a tool for your own becoming? Well, it's about being curious. It's about having conversations with people you disagree with and really listening. It's about taking a moment to reflect on your own values and asking, why do I believe that? The more you engage with these questions, the more you can consciously choose the person you want to become. And that's the thing. In the end, ethics isn't a race with a finish line. It's more like a dance. You don't dance to get to a certain spot on the floor. You dance for the movement, for the music, for the feeling of being in it. The whole point isn't to finish the dance. The whole point is the dance. So I'll leave you with this one question. It's not for me to answer. It's not for anyone else to answer. It's a question for you. And it's a question you'll be answering for the rest of your life. What ought are you becoming?